as well, T. Johnson, whoever the heck that is. Finishing out the secondary at free safety, the top player at free safety by far is Reggie Nelson of the Bengals. It's not even close. He is followed in second place by Tyrann Mathieu of the Cardinals, and third place would be Charles Woodson of the Oakland Raiders. Your strong safeties who all deserve to make this team. Top two really kind of technically only get it, but we'll do a tied for third spot to get four in. Your starting one would be Rashad Jones. The second one would be the Deion Buchanan guy from the Cards. Then we have Mike Adams and Mark Barron would be tied for my last honorable mentions worthy of the team. Then let's see. That's it for all the players. That is the Scotty Ball Pro team, but we don't stop there. No, we go balls deep. You can't have a team without having coaches. So we've got our head coach, our offensive coordinators, and our defensive coordinators. On defense, my top defensive coordinator would be that of the Seattle Seahawks, leading the league in scoring defense for the third, fifth consecutive year in a row, somewhere in there. So they're number one. Wade Phillips in Denver's number two. Arizona's number three. And Carolina's number four. For offensive coordinators, Arizona's would be number one. Carolina's would be number two. Pittsburgh's would be number three. I believe that's Todd Haley. And New Orleans Saints offensive coordinator did great. Would be my number four offensive coordinator. And then I only picked two head coaches. My first team head coach would be Ron Rivera of the 15-1 Carolina Panthers. And my second team only other worthy coach would be Andy Reid of the what was it, frickin' 11-5, now won 11 games in a row, second round of the playoff, Kansas City Chiefs. There is your complete first inaugural ever annual, hopefully, Scotty Ball Pro team. Wow. Would you look at that? We are at almost the 2 hour and 50-minute mark of the show, and we have just now finally finished discussing NFL football. Let us move on very quickly to the College National Football Championship that took place this past Monday night on ESPN, which featured number one ranked Clemson, undefeated, 14-0, trying to become the first 15-win national champion in college football history, taking on the juggernaut that is the Alabama Crimson Tide. They were the 2 seed. This game was fantastic. What I did get to see of it, everything I read and heard about it, all that the NCAA could have asked and hoped for in a national championship game, especially following the abysmal New Year's Eve second semifinal bowl games between Michigan State and Alabama and Clemson and UNC, or not Clemson and UNC, Clemson and Oklahoma. Those games got horrible ratings being on New Year's Eve. As of now, they have said they're going to continue that next year, yet I don't understand what the thought process is there. How you would think that people are going to watch college football games on New Year's Eve is just ridiculous. But ultimately, it ended up being Alabama-Clemson in the championship, like I said, 1 versus 2. Could they have exactly what the NCAA wanted? It ended up being a great game, tied 14-14 at halftime. I want to say that Alabama at one point in time in the second half kicked an onside kick, possibly to open the second half. I missed it whenever it did happen as I was flipping back and forth between Monday Night Raw. But they ended up taking the lead. Clemson mounted a remarkable comeback that fell just a tiny bit short at the end. Final score, Alabama, your national champions, 45. Clemson, 40. Plenty of players from this game now coming out declaring for the draft. You know, that being juniors on both the Alabama and Clemson sides, so keep an eye on those. Nick Saban, with this win, goes to being the second coach ever with 5 national championships. He is a perfect 5-0 in national championship games, and the only coach in the history of Division I college football that has as many or more than him would be the original Nick Saban down in Alabama, establishing the Crimson Tide dynasty, and that would be one Bear Bryant. So the argument can definitely be made on whether or not Nick Saban is the greatest Division I college football coach of all time, and I'm fairly certain that on a future episode of the show we will embark on that debate. But that is all I can offer you on college football for this episode. Like I said, maybe we'll revisit some of what happened in the national championship and the fallout from it on next week's show. But we are in super quickie mode. Moving on to balls. That's the end of the spew. Moving on to balls on ice to talk some hockey. Gophers get their, not the Gophers, the Wild get their butts kicked at home by the Buffalo Sabres last night. Jack Eichel was Eicheling it up. That is not a game you should ever lose under any circumstances to a terrible team at home. So the Wild woes continue. They are struggling as of late, still very firmly in the middle of the playoff picture in the ever so difficult Western Conference, especially the Central Division. And we'll just have to keep checking back in with them. Like I said, not a whole lot we can really take away, gain or loss from this point in time. Concerns yet are still just getting healthy and staying healthy. That's really all I'm still concerned about, and I don't think the injuries are too big of an issue at the moment, although there are some key guys banged up, as there always is in every NHL regular hockey season for every team. Moving on to balls dribble in the NBA, the Wolves lose tonight at Houston 107-104. Good competitive game for once at least from the Minnesota Timberwolves. Their losing ways continue, however. Their seasonal allergies to winning, as I usually think of it, they have seasonal allergies. They're allergic to winning, and it only takes place in the winter months, the cold weather months here in Minnesota. Unfortunately, that's when the NBA regular season takes place every year. But so the Wolves still, I want to say, stuck on 11 wins. Only 4 shy of their whole total for last year, though, so still improved, but not quite as improved as the talent on this team, would suggest that we could be. Coaching continues to just baffle night in and night out as far as the lineup combinations, the amount of minutes guys are getting, when they're getting their minutes, what positions, how they're being used at. Sam Mitchell really seems to be clueless as far as to how to use this team, what the vision should be, or even is for that matter. Warriors are still great, Spurs are still great, Sixers still stink, but they're starting to get a few wins. And then there's other teams in the NBA playing as well. There's your balls dribble NBA talk. Moving on to college basketball, they're still playing that. It's still the regular season. Plenty of time to get on board yet before March Madness. And I'm sure the Gophers in the Big Ten are as awful as can be. No baseball news in the PGA. Jordan Spieth won the tournament last week, first of the golf season. He set a course record with a 64 on the opening day, ended up 30 under par for the tournament, like 8 to 14 strokes ahead of the second place, somewhere in there. So, look for that dominance and amazing entertainment on the golf courses to continue throughout this next 2016 PGA golf season. I am very looking forward to that. Tennis, the Australian Open, will begin on, I believe, the 17th, somewhere in there, very soon here, middle of January. UFC news. Ronda Rousey will not be fighting at UFC 200 as was originally planned in her rematch with Holly Holm, because she has decided that she will be too busy filming her movie Roadhouse. That's right. Peter Griffin's going to go watch Ronda Rousey in Roadhouse. So she will not be at UFC 200, which is big news. They'll have to replan that. More on that as that occurs. Also, a reminder, she will be hosting Saturday Night Live this month on January 23rd. She was also referred to in a recent rant from one Floyd Money Mayweather, who put both her and Conor McGregor down, stating that the only reasons that they are popular and liked is because they are white. To which Conor McGregor replied beautifully, asking if he wanted a pad or a tampon, because people cheer for McGregor, but people boo Floyd, and then he goes into great detail to explain exactly the differences, and also what he thinks of Sir Money Mayweather. A phenomenal read. I highly recommend looking that up on your internet device of choosing, at your soonest convenience. It is a good, entertaining read. Read what Floyd said, and then read the reply, the well-written reply that Conor McGregor, champion, put out there. It's fantastic. And then in the WWE, we are a week and a half away from the Royal Rumble. Cannot wait. On next week's show, we will have a big WWE show, as it being, next week we will only be 4 days away from the Royal Rumble. So, of course, I will be getting the world's foremost WWE expert guru extraordinaire, my exclusive expert guru extraordinaire, the one and only Mr. Doug Sanders, to come in here and help me preview and amp and hype you and get you all ready for the Royal Rumble Sunday, January 24th. All right, well, we blew through all that really quick. Good quickie blowing through. I think we're going to top out at right on 3 hours here. Fantastic. Thanks again for tuning in, as always, continuing to find your way to the show while we are, not at full strength with all of our broadcast platforms available. However, you are continuing to listen to the show via YouTube, SoundCloud, or the Spreaker app, and I can't thank you enough for that. Let's get to our end segment, which, as you know, every week is Balls Deep Thought of the Day, and I have just a what-if ponderer that I thought of, and of course it goes back to guess what, NFL football, not Vikings, So here's your Balls Deep Thought of the Day. Short, sweet, to the point. Okay, we talked about everything that's going on with football moving to LA and leaving other cities and that whole spiel, all right? And that's what inspired this week's Balls Deep Thought of the Day. We had the mayor of St. Louis coming out just ripping the NFL and just asking why any city would want to do business with them in the future when you see how they treated the city of St. Louis and their efforts to keep their team in their city. And then you've got the Raiders being third choice and really not being happy at all with how any of this has turned out. They were put on the "no one cares about you, we'll get to you later, just sit tight and wait and see." Like, that's kind of the treatment they got. So they're burnt. San Diego, they're kind of still half on. They're still flirting with the NFL in Los Angeles and all that stuff. They're not completely on bad terms, but not all peaches and cream either. But so my balls deep inspired thought of the day from all that was this: looking at the most pissed off people in this picture being Oakland Raiders ownership and the city of St. Louis. How about, since there is no plan whatsoever for Oakland, like I said, they're just on the "we don't care about you, we'll get back to you when we have time, wait and see" list. How about they contact the city of St. Louis and say, "Hey, we need a home. Like, we don't want to go share Los Angeles and be the other team. That we tried that already. We don't like that. Things in Oakland just don't make sense here. There's too many teams in California. We got the 49ers just right across the bay. Like, two teams in the Bay Area is dumb. I'm sorry." And the Chargers, they're either going to stay in San Diego or go be the other team in Los Angeles, and we'd rather not wait to find out what they do. We'd like to secure our own fate. So how about the Oakland Raiders try to move to St. Louis? Become the St. Louis Raiders. Just stick it to the NFL big time. Both the city of St. Louis and the Raiders organization. Like, yes, I know it would still require 24 or 32 owners approving it, and that wouldn't happen. But just for them to come out and try, I think would just be like the funniest, awesomest message, possible. Like what better entertainment in this story? Like, that's the best possible outcome. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Tweet the show, please. Follow the show on Twitter at BDST Show. Keep up with show news. Keep up with sports news. Contact me personally. Let me know your most balls deep in or thoughts. Actually, please don't. But, you can tweet me about sports stuff, whatever. Another great way to follow the show and stay in touch with me and sports is by liking and friending the show on Facebook. Search Scotty-Ball. Thank you so very much for tuning in this week, as hopefully you do every week. Again, word of mouth is our only advertisement. Please tell your friends, your neighbors, your enemies, your coworkers, strangers, anyone you see that might be remotely interested into some good old-fashioned independent sports talk about the show. Steer them our way. All right, thanks. Well, until next week, whether that most likely be Wednesday or possibly Thursday, but again, most likely Wednesday, we'll be talking sports then. Until then, enjoy your week. Enjoy your weekend. Take it easy. Try to stay warm if you live in this stupid place that I do. I love Minnesota, but Jesus, it's cold here. Holy guacamole. So stay warm if you live in Minnesota, as do I.